So let's pay attention to the poem closely. And a woman who held a babe against her bosom said, "Speak to us of children." And he said, and the he here is Al Mustafa. Al Mustafa replies, "Your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but not from you. And though they are with you, yet they belong not to you." So, this is what you call as aphorisms. These are statements that make us think deeply because they contain a lot of universal truths. What does what does Al Mustafa reply, or how does Al Mustafa reply? He says, "Your children are not your children. The children you consider as your own. The baby that you are holding close to your chest or holding close to your bosom is not really your baby. Your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself." So, life is a big chain. Life longs to have people. Life is a continuous chain. It requires people to come and fill up the vacant spaces. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. Life has to continue on this earth, and as a result, you are given children. The sons and daughters that are born to you have actually come here to fill up the vacant space that might take life forward. They come through you, but not from you. Perhaps they are born through you, but they do not actually come from you. And though they are with you, yet they belong not to you. Your children are there always by your side. They are there to take care of you. They are there to listen to you. But remember, they don't really belong to you. This is actually a huge universal truth, a maxim that Khalil Gibran tries to convey through this narrative voice or through the character of Al Mustafa. So, that is the first stanza wherein he makes a universal statement, wherein he makes or brings out a universal truth by telling that the children does not really belong to parents. Parents believe that these children have been born through them, but Al Mustafa makes a great or creates a great realization in the parents. He says they may belong to you. You feel that they belong to you, that they are with you, but they actually do not belong to you. They are here as a part of life's continuous process. Now let's take a look at the second stanza. "You may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts." So, this is another important statement that parents should remember. Remember that they are your children, for which you have to love them. Love them dearly, but never give your thoughts, never infuse your thoughts into your children, never impose your thoughts on your children, for they have their own thoughts. Permit your children to develop their own thoughts. And this also reminds one of William Blake, who wrote the collections Songs of Innocence and Songs of Innocence and Songs of Experience. And in Songs of Innocence, he speaks about the innocence of childhood. And William Blake himself has once said, "You should permit children to play. Only then will their creativity be unleashed. If children have to use their creativity, they should be permitted to play." So, this was a statement that he made against the slavery imposed upon children during the pre-romantic times, when industrialization began, or it started imposing itself on the society. So, "You may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts." You can provide them your love. You can love them dearly, but do not think or do not consider it as a license to give your thoughts to them. Remember, they have their own thoughts, they have their own perceptions about everything under the sun. So, let them develop their own thoughts, let them develop their own perceptions about life. Let them be free spirited, because Khalil Gibran himself was a free spirited person. He was brought up that way by his mother. He was given a considerable amount of freedom. He was permitted to grow up as a very free boy by his mother, Kamila Gibran. And perhaps that is the consideration, or that is the thought that he tries to bring in here. It's a word of advice, a piece of advice that he would like to give the parents of today. You may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. You may house their bodies, but not their souls. You can develop their bodies, you can help them grow their bodies, but not their souls. You can house it, you can keep it under your control. Their body may be kept under your control, but do not think that you can control their souls. Let them be free spirited. Let them have a soul of their own. Let them develop a soul of their own. For their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow. Let them have a bright future. Their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow. Their souls have to develop for tomorrow what is awaiting them. They have to develop it for something that is awaiting them in the future. So do not think that you can control their souls as well. Do not control their thoughts. Let them develop their own thoughts. Do not try to house or control their souls. Let their souls be free. Let them grow their souls or develop their souls for what is awaiting them tomorrow, which you cannot visit, not even in your dreams, because nobody is aware of what is going to happen tomorrow, what future awaits these children. It is not something that parents can bring them. It is something these children have to find out for themselves. So let them explore. Permit their souls to be free. Let their souls explore and find out its future, because it is not something that can be visited or understood by parents. Not even in dreams can you know what future awaits your children. You may strive to be like them, but seek not to make them like you. So once again, you can find Khalil Gibran advocating freedom for children. He says you may strive to be like them. You can have the innocence of children. You can strive, you can struggle, and you can work hard to be like these children, but seek not to make them like you. But never think that you can make these children like you. Never think that you can structure them like you. Never think that you can replicate them in your manner. For life goes not backward nor tarries with yesterday, because life is not something that moves backward. Life is not a crab to move backward. Life goes forward. It has to progress. It has to move along, nor tarries with yesterday. What do you mean by tarries with yesterday? Tarry, it does not stick on. With yesterday, does not stick on with yesterday. It does not remain in the past. You cannot expect any delay on the part of life. It just moves forward. It will not stay back. It will not stick on to the past life or to what happened yesterday. So life has to move forward. So permit your children to develop their souls. Permit them to be free spirited. Never try to infuse your thoughts into their minds, and permit them to live. For life goes forward. It will never stick to the past. It will not play with yesterdays. Now to the third stanza. You are the bows from which your children as living arrows are sent forth. The archer sees the mark upon the path of the infinite, and he bends you with his might, that his arrows may go swift and far. Let your bending in the archer's hand be for gladness, for even as he loves the arrow that flies, so he loves also the bow that is stable. So this is one stanza which reveals the spirituality of Khalil Gibran, how much he trusted God. And mind you, even though he was born into a Christian family, he was not just influenced by the Bible, he was also influenced to a great extent by Islam, the religion Islam, and also Sufism. And you come across Khalil Gibran's intense faith in God in the last lines. You are the bows from which your children as living arrows are sent forth. And it was also mentioned in the initial part of the lecture that Khalil Gibran makes use of simples, he makes use of images. And here you come across the image of bow and arrow, and it has been used as a metaphor. The bow here refers to parents, and the children are the arrows. So you are the bows, the parents are the bows from which children as living arrows shoot forth. It is your responsibility to set the path or to set the vision right for the children. You should make the right bend so that these arrows can be shot at a correct length with the correct measurement so that they strike at the right point. You are the bows from which your children as living arrows are sent forth. And immediately or instantly, Khalil Gibran harks back to God. He says, the archer sees the mark upon the path of the infinite and he bends you with his might. Here, the archer is a reference to God. God has created us human beings. He has set the path for us. He has an infinite vision about human beings. And that is why it is said, the archer sees the mark upon the path of the infinite. He sets a prolonged distance. The distance is rather great. The distance to which the arrow is to be shot is large. It's an extended distance set by God. And he bends you with his might, and he bends himself, because here the archer uses the bow and he bends the bow with all his might. And here he refers to God. His refers to God. That is the reason why it has been written in capital letter. H is written in capital letter because it's a reference to God. So here the archer is God. He uses the bow, bends it to a proportion. He bends it proportionally, or he bends it with all his might so that the arrow can be shot and it reaches its appropriate destination. He bends you with his might, that his arrows may go swift and far. What do you mean by that? He bends his bow such that he is able to shoot the arrow with swiftness, and the arrow also moves forward. It travels a longer distance. Let your bending in the archer's hand be for gladness. So what you have to trust God. You have to give yourself up to God's hands. And the bending of the archer's hand, archer here is a reference to God. God bends the bow, and the bow is bent so that you remain in happiness. You can move to a longer distance, you can travel a longer distance, and you would reach your destination, and let that destination be filled with gladness. For even as he loves the arrow that flies, so he loves also the bow that is stable, because God is someone who has a master plan. He is a good archer. He knows how much the bow has to be bent so that the arrow can be shot with swiftness and also with correctness, how exactly and with accuracy it can be sent forth, because it is not just the arrow that God loves. God is also considerate about, he is considerate towards the bow that remains stable, because only if the bow is bent and it remains stable will the arrow be shot forth correctly. So similarly here, the parents should act as the bow. The parents should bend themselves appropriately so that their children can have a better vision. They can be taken to the right destination. So this is a stanza which is aphoristic in style, which is extremely rich in its meaning. It also brings out the philosophical nature of Khalil Gibran, the spirituality that is contained within him, and also we find him using a number of images, and what is prominently used here is that of the example or the image of the bow and arrow. In the first two lines, he compares the bow to parents and the children are the arrows. The bow has to be bent properly in order to shoot the arrows forward. And if the parents do the right things for their children, they will reach their right destination, and that would all create happiness for them. Here, God also is an archer. He has set the path for the people. He knows how to bend the bow appropriately so that the arrows can be shot. And remember, God not just loves the arrows, but also the bow that remains stable. He knows that it has to be equally considered. It has to be given concern, or it should also be given some concern so that human beings reach the right position and destination, that is on children. So here we find Khalil Gibran giving his views about children, how children should be brought up without being restricted. They should be given their freedom to develop their souls.